Fantastic. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Town Board Work Session and Special Meeting for Tuesday, December 17th, 2019. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we have a special presentation to kick off, and I'm talking slowly because we're waiting for somebody else to join us. I believe the mayor is on her way. I think she thought we were going to be at the courthouse tonight, so she'll be here any moment. But she'll probably be walking in right as we're just finishing up, which is fine. You want me to wait?
Do your announcements.
We'll do the announcements first. Okay, we're gonna go into announcements, you guys. Thank you so much for all being here, DeMarch's family and extended family, I'm guessing. We'll start off with some announcements and then we'll come back to our special presentation. First off, I wanted to give everyone an update on the Climate Adaptive Design Studio. Yesterday afternoon, the Cornell University Landscape Architecture students showed off their semester's worth of work featuring the Ossining waterfront at the Ossining Public Library. Having watched the students' designs grow since September, it was very exciting to see their hard work in a final form. There were many great designs. Some designs seemed more practical than others, but every one of them had some or even many nuggets that could have real potential for a climate adaptive waterfront. The program has been a great opportunity, I think, for the town and village to confront the impacts of climate change head-on and envision a sustainable future for the Ossining waterfront, which is it's especially significant that you are all here tonight. Due to the travel time coming to and from Ossining and Ithaca, the open house was scheduled during the workday, but if you couldn't make it, we recorded most of the students' presentations and we'll be sharing them on the town's YouTube page shortly. I do think we're also going to get some of the boards back from Cornell so that we can find potentially a semi-permanent place to display them so we can continue to receive feedback about them. It's really is just the beginning for Ossining. In January, we're going to be meeting with our colleagues from the village, from Cornell, with Professor Josh Serra, as well as Libby Zemaitis from the New York State DEC's Hudson River Estuary Program, and Liz LaJudas, who was the community coordinator for the program, and we will be discussing next steps. With their expert guidance, we'll review the students' completed work and brainstorm ways that we can start looking to bring some of the design concepts to fruition, incorporating additional community input, of course. Participating in the Climate Adaptive Design Studio was humbling and has given us a greater understanding of what sea level rise, increased flooding, and other impacts of climate change will bring to our community in the next 20, 30, 50 plus years. And it's also good material for us as we embark on our comprehensive plan process in the coming months. So thanks again go out to Cornell University, the Hudson River Estuary Program, Professor Sarah, Libby, and Liz for selecting Ossining to participate in this eye-opening program for the fall 2019 semester, and also a big shout out to Victoria Caffarelli from my office, who actually helped us apply for the studio to come here and then did a lot of the follow-up and the planning. But I can't wait, and I hope you can either, to see what's to come. This Friday, December 20th, is the deadline to throw your hat in the ring for the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee for the town. Submit your application and current resume online by next Friday, December 20th, I think it's this Friday now, at 4:30 p.m. The link is right at the top of the Town of Ossining homepage. You can also submit your application via email to vcaffarelli@townofossining.com as a letter of interest, addressing all of the same questions that are detailed on the online form. If you have any questions, please call us at 914-762-6001. We're happy to help, and the town board will be holding interviews in January for these volunteer positions. If you may have gotten a little overzealous with your reading material and racked up some fines with the Ossining Public Library, the library is offering a very cool program for this holiday season. For one donated non-perishable food item that you bring in from December 8th through the 21st, you will get $1 wiped off your overdue fines. What a great way to give back and clear up those fines before the new year. And I know my office is a very big user of the library, so they're buying a lot of food at ShopRite. This Friday, December 20th, join the Greater Austin Chamber of Commerce for their holiday celebration starting at 8 p.m. at the Boathouse Restaurant. With a DJ, karaoke, and a basket of cheer, you have to go to find out what that is. This is sure to be a fun way to ring in the holiday season with Austin's small business owners. Save the date for the Austin and Briarcliff Community Menorah Lightings on Thursday, December 26th, starting at Austin's Market Square at 3:30 p.m. and moving to Briarcliff Pocket Park at 4:45 p.m. In Austin, don't miss the opportunity to catch the Raining Chocolate Gelt, which I think is probably a lot better than ice, rain, and sleet, and to watch a fire juggling show in Briarcliff. There will be latkes, donuts, hot cider, and more, making this a wonderful family event. Finally, this is our last evening meeting of 2019. We will be meeting next Monday morning, December 23rd at 8:30 a.m. In the third floor conference room at 16 Croton Avenue to pay bills and take care of any other pressing business before the new year. Otherwise, our next work session will take place on January 7th, which is our first meeting of 2020. Town offices will close early at 12:30 p.m. on Tuesday, December 24th. And will be closed all day on Wednesday, December 25th, Christmas, and we hope everybody has a merry one. We will also be closing early at 12:30 p.m. on Tuesday, December 31st, and will be closed all day on Wednesday, January 1st. Please join us for the inauguration of our newly elected and re-elected officials on Wednesday, January 1st at 12 noon at the Community Center. That is it for my announcements. I think they're still collecting Toys for Tots, or is that over?
Yes.
Yeah, Toys for Tots. We have the official Toys for Tots program box here, and then there's lots of other groups that are collecting, including the Austin Boat and Canoe Club. Do you have the list in your head of where they all are?
The Austin Boat and Canoe Club is still collecting toys for the next few days. Collection has been pretty light, so I hope people can find it in their hearts to give a little more. Anyway, they are located at Sing Sing Kill Brewery, Mike Risco Music School on Croton Avenue, Bob's Army Navy on Main Street, Penny and Ting Toy Store on Main Street, First Village Coffee on Main Street, the Austin Ambulance Corps, and you can ring that bell pretty much anytime. They're always there. So ring the downstairs bell, and the box is right inside the door. Where else? Fred's Auto Repair, I think already picked it up. Value Drugs, and Moonbeam Coffee.
All right.
Any of those locations.
Any other announcements? Anything happening with the Lions? No.
Nope,
Nothing? Okay. All right. Thank you all. With that, I think we will now go into our special presentation where I want to find my notes. Okay. I've lost them. I'm going to find them. Okay. Got it. So, no, I still don't have it. All right, here we go. We have some very important guests here with us tonight as we are recognizing Westerly Marina and the DeMarchis family for reaching the remarkable milestone of 60 years in business in the Austin community. Austin is lucky to have dedicated small business owners with so many staying in business for decades. The DeMarchis family is no exception. They have proven to be resilient and dedicated to Austining, despite many challenges, including flooding during severe hurricanes like Sandy and Irene. And I do want to give you a shout out for coming to some of the early Climate Adaptive Design Studio meetings, and I hope that you'll continue to be a part of that conversation. We're proud to present you with a proclamation, and if you want to come on up and receive it, the board is going to give this to you, and I'll read. I kind of gave you a little bit of an overview, but I think that we're going to, can we come over here? I think. And the rest of the board can join me. And let's move this back a little bit. Why don't we'll read this proclamation, and then the most exciting part is the last line, which basically, whereas the Austin community is lucky to have many dedicated small business owners, including Westerly Marina and the DeMarchis family, and whereas Arthur DeMarchis founded Westerly Marina along the Austin waterfront in 1959, after a long search to find the right home to relocate the Tobin Craft boat building business from New Jersey. And whereas Arthur and his family have allowed the business to grow and evolve throughout the decades, starting with these wooden motorboats, shifting to fiberglass construction and expanding marine construction, docking, storage, and repair services as well. And whereas Westerly Marina has been a long-standing presence on the Ossining waterfront, growing its footprint to adjoining lots and offering new services like parking, as the Ossining waterfront has become a burgeoning economic engine for the community. And whereas now with three, and not just parking boats either, parking cars, I think we're talking, right. Now with 3 generations of the DeMarchis family working at Westerly Marina, Arthur and his family have illustrated how resilience, dedication, and hard work form the cornerstone of a successful small business. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Dana Levenberg, supervisor of the town of Ossining, with the enthusiastic support of the Ossining Town Board, congratulate Westerly Marina and the DeMarchis family on 60 years in business in Ossining and thank them for the commitment to our community. Be it further resolved that December 31st, 2019 be named Westerly Marina Day in the town of Ossining, marking the last day of their 60th year in business in Ossining.
Thank you very much.
All right. Congratulations. And I have to thank Councilwoman Feldman. She was instrumental in making sure that we had a chance to recognize you before the year was over. So we want to say congratulations. And if you want to have, we can maybe take a picture if you guys want to turn around. Sure. Young men.
No.
How about you turn around and face the cameras?
Get in here.
Okay. The camera's right over there. There we go. There we go. We have lots of cameras. Okay. There we go. All right.
Good.
You guys got it? Good.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, and I think we have somebody else who's here too to give you also some fantastic recognition. Thank you very
I'm here
much.
from the village.
That's Victoria, Dad. Hi, Victoria. How are
Hi,
you? Nice to see you.
good to see you. Well, thank you so much, Dana Levenberg and the town council for bringing the DeMarchis family here, for inviting us to be part of the celebration. And I've learned a lot about the history of your business in preparing for this evening. And it's a lot of the same information that the town just acknowledged. So I'll skip to the end, which is the highlight. So therefore, I, Victoria Garrity, Mayor of the Village of Ossining, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, do hereby recognize Westerly Marina and proclaim Saturday, December 21st as Westerly Marina Day in the Village of Ossining, and urge all our residents and merchants to join in honoring them. So thank you so much.
So we got two exciting days ahead of you, and we want to know, what are you going to be doing to celebrate?
We're going to celebrate with you all, the rest of the family, I'm sure.
Okay, fantastic.
It's my brother's Dougie's birthday, so we have to go.
Oh, okay. Happy birthday.
So he chooses.
You
Very
get
good.
to celebrate today, which is what's today, 17th?
Yes.
When you receive the proclamations, you get to celebrate on the 21st, which is in the village.
In the village.
And then you get 31st, you get to celebrate.
It's New Year's Eve. I'm sure we're going to celebrate.
That's why we picked it, because we knew we could count on you guys to celebrate that day. Oh, is it? Oh, it's really close too. All right. Oh, great. Well,
This is
glad
very
that you're
nice.
Here on this earth.
96 this year.
Wow.
Thank you for
96.
being such a special part of the Ossining waterfront for so many years. It means so much to our community. We're grateful to be able to
It
celebrate
means a
it
lot
today.
to us, too.
All right.
Thank you very
Councilwoman
much.
Feldman, did you want to say anything?
No.
Here.
I don't think so. Just that
No? Okay.
we're happy to be part of the Austin waterfront, and we'd like to think that we played a big part in the revitalization of Austin's waterfront. And 60 years is a long time to be on the river. And one thing I'm going to say, a river town is the place to be.
That
Yep.
is so true.
Absolutely.
That is so true. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Two.
Thank you for supporting him.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you all. Everybody have a wonderful holiday.
You too. Oh, I
You guys
have.
have a meeting. Elizabeth, thank you very much. Huh? Thanks, guys.
I'm gonna just do this.
I hope you get out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, great.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, all right, thanks so much. We are glad that
Hmm?
you guys are all, and very much appreciate your time.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Don't call me late for dinner.
All right. We really know how to clear out a room. Thank you, Mayor, for stopping by. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, so next up, I would like to invite John Hamilton, our building inspector, for a departmental report.
Woohoo!
Good evening.
Good evening.
Glasses. Where are they? Good evening. For the year 2019, we're finishing up. We issued 363 alarm permits. We issued a total of 353 building, plumbing, and electrical permits, up a little bit from 2018, which was 329. The revenues for 2019 were $136,568. Of those 353 permits, 22 were solar, which is also an increase from 2018, where we issued 16 solars. So we're moving up a little bit each year on the solar permits, which is a good thing. We have some proposed projects coming in from the planning board. The biggest ones are the Learning Center, which actually came in today for its building permit. We'll probably have it issued within 2 weeks or so. And the SPCA of Westchester, they're still working on it, but they're out of planning, and their next step is to get a building permit. Thornton Hill has already had 4 of their 10 building permits issued. 1 building's already got a CO. And we have 8 projects that came out of the planning board that now have building permits. 8 of them have planning board approval, and no building permit has been issued yet. It's been kind of a busy year. We did about 700 inspections. That includes fire inspections, complaints, all that good stuff that goes with it. So it's been a busy year, and we'll see what 2020 brings.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think we're going to see some more solar.
I
It's not
think
just
we
gonna be-
will.
It's not just going to be rooftop and
Yeah, no, it's not.
Gonna see
You know, it's a good thing.
some applications. Yes. So that's great. Fantastic. Does anybody have any questions for John?
Do I need my pen? Okay.
Seriously? Yes. Oh, you need to talk to him? Okay. All right. Well, the good news is we have a very, very, very short agenda for our work session this evening. So thank you very much. It's scary. It's a little scary. Okay. Next up, we have Paul Frioli, our town village engineer, and Andy Teese, water superintendent, who are going to give us departmental reports on what's been going on in the last quarter.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Supervisor, Council. So last time I was in front of you all, we talked primarily about McCarthy Drive, and unfortunately, I don't have a lot of new material to present on McCarthy Drive, but I will update you on a couple of facets of that project. But the main critical path of that project is the Westchester County Department of Health approval, which is yet to be secured. Which means, and that's for the potable water component, which actually isn't even really a town component. It's a village part of that project that the village is going to fund as part of the capital project. But because it's all being done concurrently with the storm drain construction and the road rehabilitation, we have to wait for that to get approved and finalized before we can actually finish the contract documents. That said, we placed a call into the health department yesterday, and we're told that maybe by year's end we would get that final approval, at which point it would be given back to the consultant engineer, Dot Rothfeld AI Engineering, to produce the final construction documents. And we still look to get it out to bid. When I was here in front of you last time, we were going to get it out to bid before the end of the year for construction commencement in the spring. We're probably going to go into the new year with the bidding process and hopefully award it sometime in February, and still look for a spring commencement of work. So we'll try to stick to the original schedule. I think we're probably going to end up compressing the bid schedule, but I'll keep you posted as things develop with respect to that. Some of the things we've been doing, though, while we're waiting for these documents to get approved, is Fern had reached out to, of the 30 more or less property owners that are within the area of the construction zone or in the area of influence of the construction. Approximately 14 or 15 of them have a conflict that needs to be resolved for construction based on the new expansion of the road or some of the drainage that needs to go in. And when I say conflict, I don't mean nothing that is insurmountable, but conflicts like they have Belgian block coming out that's going to have to be relocated, or they have some type of statuary, or they have a tree that is actually in the right of way that they probably think may or may not be in the right of way that we're going to have to remove. So we want to do that in coordination with the homeowners, so we don't want any shock value to be associated with the starting of this project. So they've all been reached. They know that we want to talk with them, but I've been kind of putting that off with the highway superintendent joining me to do that, because we're waiting for the final health department approvals, because we don't want them to come back and say, no, we want the water main over there, and then everything we did becomes a moot point if we have to do it all over again. But we'll get there, and we're not going to do anything. There will be no shock value associated with this project. We will keep the McCarthy Road residents and the Incognito residents versed every step of the way, because Incognito, as you remember when we discussed the scope last time, is where a lot of the stormwater that's collected is going to be conveyed underground to a discharge point well down White Birch, where it doesn't impact any of the homes. And last time I was here, I also told you that the project was, roughly $2 million. Now that they finalized some of the stormwater design, they think it might eke up a little bit with some of the detention design that we're doing under the road and some of the work that we're doing in Incognito. But again, we're really not going to know. We can only estimate that it's going to be about between $2 and $2.3 million right now, but we won't know that until the bids come in, because the bids can come in at 1.7, for example, and then we're lower, or it can come in at 2.7. That's the public bidding process, but we're going to advertise it and try to get as much attention to this job as we can, because we are bidding it in the winter. So we hopefully get competitive bidding and something that's within what we project to be the budget. And speaking of the budget, stating again what I said earlier, approximately $600,000 to $700,000 engineer's estimate of that 2-point-something dollars will be incurred by the village's capital fund, because it is a water main, and as you know, that's the village's responsibility historically and going forward with regard to capital improvements. So once we get all those numbers out on the street, that'll take more shape, and I will sit with the town's budget officer and coordinate that work. I guess this is just a list of all the residents on there, just to show you that we actually did reach out. Those are all the impacted residents and Fern's phone log. So she's reached out for all of them, and I know they're chomping at the bit to meet. So we will get to you. Some of the paving work that took place since the last time was here. There was 2 main paving projects. One of them was really coordinated by the Parks Department, but I'm not sure what he covered or didn't cover. But in Ryder Park, basically all the roads were overlaid or widened there, and there was some very significant drainage improvements that were completed, in large part by the town park staff. And drainage is paramount when you're paving, so I think that a lot of the work they did in advance of the paving is going to make that a very long-lasting, fortified job. And I think it came out great. I think once everything pops in the spring, once everything is graded and seeded, it's going to look fantastic and be make a nice amenity even nicer. One of the things we did on the road in coordination with your town highway superintendent is the milling and paving of Studio Hill and Haymont Terrace. Another great project that needed some drainage improvements in advance of paving, which were completed, and some improved curb work there. And then once we did do all the milling and did the overlay, we also put a new thermoplastic double yellow line and a fog line on either side of Studio Hill, which I think is going to do a lot for the traffic calming in that area. But definitely, it's a definitely more pleasurable ride in that area compared to what you were experiencing prior to that operation. Just so you can get your arms around the budget, Studio Hill and Haymont Terrace, drainage, line striping, and paving came out to roughly $155,000, and the Ryder Park work came out to about $157,000, which were funded out of debt service, I believe, with some contribution of chips for the Haymont and Studio Hill component.
Some fund balance also.
At this point, I'll turn it over to Andy. Thank you.
Do you have any questions for Paul before he leaves us?
I just wanted to thank you for coordinating and not, you know, paving, digging, paving, digging, paving, digging, as is so often seen in other municipalities. So, thank you for
Sometimes-
coordinating all of the things together.
Sometimes that's a Con Ed thing.
I
not always
understand.
control-
I know. As
not
soon as
always
we pay something,
controllable.
Con Ed comes. I
Yes,
get that.
that happens frequently,
But
unfortunately.
I appreciate the attempted coordination.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, and I think the job did come out really well.
Well, only because you mentioned it, I will say that the Con Ed relationship is something that we really strive to develop. It's not an easy one. They do change people a lot, and then people move around in different departments. But we're getting there. I think it's going well, and year after year, we tell them where we're going to pave and try to coordinate with their engineering teams to see what they plan on fortifying underground and what they don't. And we alert them to where we are paving. So, knock on wood, they won't be there in the foreseeable future doing any significant work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we say congratulations on the Broadway Bridge also? As long as
Yes, I think that's.
Kind of waiting.
I know. No questions? No questions?
as someone who goes to visit Northern's house sometimes, I'm very, very excited that that road is now reopened.
The only problem is that the person who swims in the morning now can get there before me because they have that cut through.
Oh.
Hit the lane. No, I'm just joking.
Good evening, Supervisor and council members.
Good evening.
I kind of broke up the presentation into different projects, so I'll just start going through it. The generator design and bid documents, the town contracted with Lindstar Engineers, their electrical engineers, to design and bid 2 replacement emergency backup generators for the Parker Vale and North State Road pump stations or lift stations. I met with the highway superintendent on that, along with Dan Ciarcia, to make sure that the control strategies are correct and what we're doing here. Last week we finalized the dimensions and placement. We expect the design and bid documents to be ready by late winter. Once the sizing is complete, we'll be submitting the design to Westchester County Department of Health. I called them today to find out if they really needed to be involved. They do. So they want to guarantee that whatever we put back in as far as generator sizes, at least that size or larger. So we have to go through the process. The 9A water main replacement, the final design will be submitted to the health department this winter for the new transmission main from Stormy Town Road to Croton Dam Road. Once we have that approval, we'll send that out to be bid. The SCADA system, I know the supervisor asked me to get a proposal for the SCADA systems for all of our sewer lift stations. And P. Conley and myself and Dan picked the most critical stations that could be, the biggest liability, which we asked NIC Systems. They're a SCADA company. SCADA stands for Supervisory Control Data Acquisition System. They're out of Connecticut. We use them for our water stations and the filtration plant. And we asked them to give us a proposal on 3 workstations. And what that would be is 3 pump stations and also 3 sites. It would be the highway superintendent's office, my office at the operations center, and then an office that possibly could be at the filtration plant. It could be something that the town and village work out, and you would have to talk to the manager and our board about it. But I was looking for a place that could be manned 24/7. That if there's a situation,
Can it be?
excuse me,
Can it be on somebody's cell phone? Don't you have that for water?
you can, but it's unlikely. It's every person that's on call, would they have it? I know you have a rotating list. You kind of want someone who's going to look at it. It's not only for alarms. Like, it would have been a perfect scenario for the situation that happened the other day here for the county. If you had a SCADA system for that, and there was a pressure switch that said, "Hey, there's low pressure on this discharge line. Send an alarm out." It could have been caught earlier. So this is the kind of foresight that you're looking for in your system. So we have a proposal, and we've broken it out, and I also asked them to give us a budgetary number for each lift station. So we'll talk about that, and I can forward that to the board. The charging station at the community center, the village did the actual the install work with the annual bidder as far as the infrastructure up to the parking spots. So I know Victoria Caffarelli was working with the grant people in the state to try and get the chargers paid for. So that's ongoing. Hopefully we get an answer on that in the near future and we can move forward. And that's for an electric bus or a hybrid bus?
Yeah, well, we've been working hard to find if there is a bid that we can jump onto or something else that's out there in the world for an electric bus, and we're not sure that we found that yet. So, and the person that we'd been working with had a job description change, so it's not as available to us as he was. So we're still finding our way with how we're going out to bid for that and what exactly it is that that we can get in a timely fashion.
So we have it scoped out. It's just a matter of who we use.
Yeah.
And making it work.
Correct.
Um,
We need to follow up with that conversation on that because I think that there's a disconnect as to who is supposed to be doing the grant application.
okay. Dale Cemetery Restoration Project for the cottage. So based on the interest of the amount of interest and the level of detail required from the architect, the bid date was changed from December 9th to January 13th. Hopefully this brings an extra bidder or two into the process. That should give them plenty of time for them to get their proposals together. But once the numbers come in, then obviously it'll be presented to you and to the council people. So we're working on that. Paul went out there a few times initially. I took over the last couple of times. And then once the numbers come in, then we'll all decide. That's the highway superintendent's he's really pushing that project along with you guys. So look forward to that starting. And that would be perfect for spring if it all lined up.
We also did a little work on Hearth Knolls. Did you want to mention that?
Yeah, Parth Knolls was a project where that's actually one of the sewer lift stations that we put on the SCADA system proposal. We picked for the SCADA system upgrade, Parth Knolls, the S-Turn, and Parker Bale. The developer was responsible, and you did so much work, council, on making that happen so that they put in the base SCADA system that we can put a monitoring system in down the road. But that station was upgraded with new pumps and new controls so that it could handle the new development. It was finally approved by the health department in the last 2 months. It's online, and the next phase is the SCADA system for that. So let's see where we go.
Two other things. Can you talk a little bit about the water treatment plant? Can you just give the board a little heads up on, even though it's a village project, it's in the town.
Absolutely.
And then finally, the question that's on everybody's mind. Taste.
The taste. Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you talk about that, just a
Okay.
little bit for our public. So we can
Okay.
move that.
I'll talk about both. So the plant is the 100% design has been submitted to the health department 10 months ago. Kind of like with what's going on with McCarthy. They promised to have a meeting with us in the middle of January. We don't want to lose valuable time because the project cost is $40 million, and the longer we wait, interest rates, we don't know which way they're going, and then cost of construction. So that's once the health department gives us the approval, we'll move forward with that. All the approvals are in place as far as the town approvals and DEC and historical approvals, so that's all good to go. Taste of water, we started getting calls about 3 weeks ago. It was about a call a day. We're down to the last call was like 3 days ago. We are the only ones on the Old Croton Aqueduct. We feed off the Old Croton Aqueduct, and New York City has 3 sources of water. They're the Delaware system, the Catskill system, and the Croton system. New York City did a shutdown about a month ago where they shut down their Catskill Aqueduct in total so that they can rehab a certain percentage of that aqueduct under the Hudson and then all the way down to the reservoir. What reservoir is that? What's the reservoir by your old house? Kensico. The Kensico Reservoir. So they pretty much took the aqueduct out of service, and they had built a new water treatment plant about 10 years ago on that Croton system. I toured that facility right when it went online, and one thing we noticed was that they didn't have the treatment processes that we had to oxidize these algae out. They narrowed it down to an algae that's died off in the water. It's not harmful. It gives a taste issue. It's an aesthetic issue. And New York City's trying to figure it out because it's not in their plant. So I had spoken to their water quality person the other day, and they're taking tours of other facilities to try and look at that in the future. We will look at that in the future too. If they can do the legwork for us and we can add it to our plant, we will. In fact, we were on the phone with some scientists today, and they say you don't just want to switch. You had asked me, like, can you use a Brita filter? Yeah, you could use a Brita filter. It has granule activated carbon. It grabs all the taste and odor issues and absorbs it. It's got so much surface area. But to put that in a treatment plant is millions of dollars that has to be changed every few years. But the biggest thing is the disadvantage of just putting that type of media in our filters. It doesn't remove manganese. And 20 years ago, manganese used to be in this water system all over because the plant did not remove the manganese. So when there was a water main break or other times of the year, you would see cloudy, rusty water. We haven't had that in forever because we can remove that. So we just can't add a process for taste and odor and then we have brown water. So we're looking at it holistically. We're putting the least amount of chemical in. It's the same chemical that we normally feed. It's potassium permanganate that oxidizes it out. We've, since about a week ago, we were on 100% of New York City water. We slowly introduced our Indian Brook water, which have 100 million gallons of storage. Our spillways just spilling over nicely now, not a lot. So every day we've increased. We're doing 40, 60. 60% New York City, 40% our water, and then we look at the raw water characteristics of both. New York City's shutdown will go until January 25th, and then they'll go back on their source. We did see a correlation not just with the algae, but now New York City is drawing up 190 million gallons a day through that reservoir that they haven't in the last 30, 40 years. So it might be stirring it up. So our water quality coils, we're in line with when they started drawing. So I think it's mixing things up. But as far as it's an aesthetic issue, as far as water quality, water's perfect. It's safe to drink. There's no issues with drinking it. We're kind of stuck with it, but it has gotten better. But if
I'm sorry, when did you say they anticipate starting to draw from the other reservoirs again?
January 25th. And then I will find out like how many more shutdowns they have in the next few years. So there's communities like Newcastle that feed directly off of the Catskill Aqueduct that just went on that system the other day. They haven't gotten any calls as far as I know, but they did give notification to all the residents that we're switching sources. Anytime you switch a source, you taste the difference, but they have the process. Our plant is going to mimic what their plant is. So it apparently has better removal, and we'll go from there. But we want to, it was a good time. The silver lining is before it goes to final design, you have a little instance of this. You could look at it and say, like, all right, what would we do if the new plant went online and we weren't ready? So we want to be ready for it.
Just out of curiosity, you mentioned that we are drawing 100% of our water from New York City. Why is that?
Well, we look at, so I think some of you know that we had some THM issues the last couple of years, and at trihalmethanes, that's what that is a byproduct of any organics that make it through the filtration plant, like silt or whatever, tiny particles. Once chlorine becomes in contact with these particles, it's cancer causing. And there's EPA numbers that say you need to be below this limit. We're below the limit, but our limit started to go up. So we looked at it and said it's because our district, it's kind of like a whole big thing. You know, we started the water demand management program with New York City where we reduced our water leaks in the system. Because of reducing the water leaks in the system, the water is sometimes in the Pleasantville Road tank up to 10 days. That's a 4 million gallon tank. So the longer the water's in contact and the chlorine's in contact with these organics, the numbers go higher. So about a year and a half ago, we took the 4 million gallon tank out of service at Richard Wishney Park, put the small tank online, and right now we've completed the design and health department approval. We're going out to bid for pumping blower systems that remove any THMs in all 3 tanks. So that's going to start this next year too. So by us going to a smaller tank, we've reduced our numbers, and and by us using a water source that has less organics at the time, because New York City had less organics than the Indian Brook, it kept our numbers within compliance. We just didn't want to, the health department did have a little bit of an issue of us taking the tank out of service, but I didn't want to jeopardize the water system to just have tanks online. So we're on top of it.
Doesn't the New York City water cost us a little bit more than the Indian
Yeah, our-
water?
Yeah, New York City water is about $2,000 per million gallons. Ours is free.
Yeah, could
The
we
only
work on
the only thing it's not truly free because sometimes ours has more organics and you use more chemical, and when you use more chemical to treat our water, then you have more sludge production. So we look at the numbers all the time. Which does it make sense to use?
All right, so with the new filtration plant, we'll be able to rely more on Indian Brook and less on New York City?
Yes, but the problem is that our reservoir is weather dependent. When it's really good, it recharges at 1.5 million gallons a day. But if we're in a drought season, we could just draw that reservoir down where we don't have any water. So if we have plentiful storms like we have now, we could bring in more water. So we look at it as like money in the bank. We don't want the water to spill over, but if the water quality is bad, we're going to use New York City even if it's more expensive. We look at it, yeah. But when the water quality is great, like right now, yeah, and the complaints went down too since we switched to 40% our own. So
Thank you.
thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you so very much. All right, with that, I am going to ask for a motion to adjourn our work session into a special meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, and then we've already done our announcements. We get to skip ahead to our. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great night, everybody. So we have 3 tax certiorari resolutions.
We have public comment on agenda item.
Oh, I skipped that. Okay. Is there anybody here? I'm sorry, I skipped that. Is there anybody here to comment on agenda items only? There's a mouse in the corner. Hearing none? Okay, we're gonna move right into our board resolutions as mentioned.
So, sorry, we're going to do slightly abridged versions of
What?
these resolutions if that's
No,
acceptable to the
no,
board.
It's only 15. Come on, let's
So the first one, I think we'll read most of it except for the numbers, which are in the agenda, which is available on the website as well as in the clerk's office. And then because they're all pretty standard provisions that will carry over into the remainder, we'll cut some of those out for the second too.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Resolution A, tax certiorari, Briar Hill Owners Corp. Versus Town of Ossining. Whereas proceedings pursuant to Article 7 of the Real Property Tax Law of the State of New York were instituted by Briar Hill Owners Corp. Against the Town of Ossining, New York, to review the tax assessments made on petitioner's property located at 207-225 Schrade Road, Village of Briarcliff Manor, Town of Ossining, New York, and for tax assessments made on petitioner's property located at 300-360 North State Road, Village of Briarcliff Manor, Town of Ossining, New York. And whereas the above petitioner has agreed to a compromise and settlement of such proceedings, subject to the approval of the town board, correcting and reducing the assessed valuation of its real property and improvements as follows. And whereas any and all refunds necessitated by said settlement will be made without interest, and whereas the town board, upon the recommendation of the assessor, concurred by council to the town, finds the proposed settlement appropriate and in the best interest of the town of Ossining, now therefore it is resolved that settlement of the proceedings on the terms set forth herein is hereby accepted and approved, subject to the approval of the Supreme Court, Westchester County, wherein such proceedings are pending, and it is further resolved that council to the town is hereby authorized and directed to procure and execute any documents necessary to effectuate such settlement. And it is further resolved, subject to the approval of the Supreme Court, Westchester County, that the assessor is authorized and directed to make the changes and corrections to the individual unit assessment on the tax assessment roll of the town of Ossining, which will be ordered pursuant to the consent judgment to be entered in accordance with the terms of this settlement. And the receiver of taxes is authorized and directed to process and pay the refund of town of Ossining taxes, estimated to be $1,093.89, which will be ordered pursuant to said consent judgment.
No motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Resolution B, Tax Certiorari Plateau Associates versus Town of Ossining. Whereas proceedings pursuant to Article 7 of the Real Property Tax Law of the State of New York were instituted by Plateau Associates against the Town of Ossining, New York, to review the tax assessments made on petitioner's property located at 36 Water Street, Town of Ossining. And whereas the above petitioner has agreed to a compromise in settlement of such proceedings, subject to the approval of the Town Board, correcting and reducing the assessed valuation of its real property and improvements as follows. Now, therefore, be it. I cross out some extra things. Now, therefore, be it resolved that settlement of the proceedings on the terms set forth herein is hereby accepted and approved, subject to the approval of the Supreme Court, Westchester County, wherein such proceedings are pending. That's it.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye.
Okay, Resolution C, Tax Certiorari Deerfield Condominium 1, 2, and 3 versus Town of Ossining. Whereas proceedings pursuant to Article 7 of the Real Property Tax Law of the State of New York were instituted by Deerfield Condominium 1, 2, and 3 against the Town of Ossining to review the tax assessments made on petitioner's property located at Fawn Court, Deerfield Lane, and Deer Run Lane, Town of Ossining. And whereas the above petitioner has agreed to a compromise in settlement of such proceedings, subject to the approval of the Town Board, correcting and reducing the assessed valuation of its real property and improvements as follows. Now, therefore, it is resolved that settlement of the proceedings on the terms set forth herein is hereby accepted and approved, subject to the approval of the Supreme Court, Westchester County, wherein such proceedings are pending.
I have a motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, fantastic. Do we have anybody here to address the board on any subject whatsoever? No, Tom, you're not coming in? Okay. With that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn into executive session for advice of counsel and personnel.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. As I mentioned earlier, this is our last evening meeting for 2019. So I look forward to seeing everyone in 2020 with our inauguration on the 1st at noon at the community center, and for our first meeting of the new year on January 7th. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Winter Solstice, and Happy Holidays and New Year to everybody. Have a great night, everybody.